Here we go in three, two, one. We are live.
Folks, what is up? And welcome back to yet another Vol Talk podcast episode. You are here with myself, Blake. You are here with my brother, Austin, and we are here to talk all things volunteer sports. And Austin, we do mean all things volunteer sports, including, unfortunately, tough losses.
Tough
We
losses,
have
brother.
said we had said many a time on this podcast that it is, in fact, our sovereign duty to cover all things volunteer sports, including when we lose. And it is our sovereign duty to talk about this loss that the baseball team suffered to Arkansas in the Super Regionals. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to also review the season overall, which I think Austin will have a little bit more of a positive spin, maybe on the kind of season review overall.
Definitely.
And then, folks, we actually have some exciting stuff to talk about in relation to football. Well, the NCAA lawsuit. We're going to talk about the NCAA lawsuit, right, Austin? We're going to have a little bit of updates on that, and I guess that's kind of everything. Although, again, we mostly think about football when we're thinking about NIL and transfer portal and stuff like that. But and then we're also going to do a little teaser on the QB battle, Austin, between Merklinger and Aguilar. There was you were talking about a prediction that someone made recently that might shed a little bit of light into that situation. So we actually got a lot to cover tonight, Austin. What are your kind of thoughts on all this that we got going on?
Yeah, a lot to cover. Some bad, some good. We'll see how it plays out. Like you said, some interesting. I wouldn't call it news, but like you said, more so of a prediction of a insider, Tennessee insider that a lot of people will know about the QB battle, which I'm definitely interested in because right when one Vol sport ends, brother, it's the next season's up, right? It's football season now. We're right on to football season. People think we're going to be sulking about the baseball season. Yes, we're upset about losing to Arkansas, but no sulking here. We're getting ready for the 2025 Tennessee football team. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, and who is going to be the quarterback. And like you said, there's also that update on that NIL lawsuit that we'll be covering as well. Some interesting things to come out of that, about salary caps and what it kind of means, and we're trying to figure that out too. So you'll have to give us some information in the comments as to what it means, because I don't think anyone really knows. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun episode.
No one really knows except the lawyers who write all this legalese and bull crap, right? So we're gonna try to parse through that as much as our feeble little brains can, our feeble Vol brains. We're gonna try to get through that, but absolutely, folks, we got a big show tonight, a lot to cover. We are gonna start with the unfortunate, right? We're gonna start with the tournament review for the baseball Vols. Talk about that tough loss to Arkansas in the Super Regionals. And then we'll move into the baseball season review overall, which again, obviously it didn't end how we wanted it to, and we did drop quite a few SEC series. But Austin, I was actually looking at a graphic recently that a lot of the most recent national championship winners in college baseball went on to have worse seasons
True.
than we did. So just a little bit of perspective, right? Following up our national championship season. So we'll get into that, folks. And then, like Austin said, we're going to try to parse through that NCAA NIL lawsuit. And then we're going to talk about the QB battle update. So a lot to get into. If you are going to be joining us over the next few minutes, please hop into the chat. Let us know what you think. These live streams are totally about us just having a casual conversation on these topics, and we love to actually chat with you guys and what y'all's thoughts are. So if you're watching us live right now, please go ahead and jump into chat. Go ahead and give us a like on the video, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And in fact, if you're listening after the live show, that's great too. We would appreciate any comments you drop on the video. Again, give us a like, subscribe, especially on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow the podcast. We'd really, really appreciate it. We've been growing, and I love the momentum, Austin, that we've got going into football season, because obviously everyone loves football when it comes to the Tennessee Vols. And so I think this podcast, I think we're going to have a good time with our fellow Vols fans once we head into football season. So we really appreciate the growth. Again, drop us that like and that subscribe. And without further ado, Austin, we're going to jump into tonight's show. So let's start again with.
Just rip that Band-Aid off.
We got to rip the Band-Aid off, man. It's got to be quick.
Yes,
because
agreed.
It's gonna
Nobody
be,
wants to hear about this.
Nobody wants to hear about this. It's gonna hurt. The good news is actually this is strategic, right? Because our live shows, we tend to gain more viewers as the live stream goes. So we're getting the bad stuff out of the way at the top of the show. But if you are watching right now at the top of the show, we really appreciate your, because you are the true supporters, right?
Yes.
Listening through the bad stuff. But Austin, let's talk about the bad stuff, which is this Arkansas series loss. Man, tough, close game in game one, but we couldn't buy any hits. And then game two, just yet again, they seem to have Liam Doyle's number. Just tough overall. Talk us through. I guess we'll start with game one. Kind of talk us through what happened and how we got to that result.
Yeah, man, it was a tough series loss. I will say we probably lost to the most talented team in college baseball this season. If you just look at the rest of the bracket and how it played out, like Arkansas was definitely the most talented team left and probably the most talented team of the season. So it was always going to be a tough task. Now, when we lost the Saturday game, it kind of felt like it was pretty demoralizing. Like it felt like at that point, Blake, winning the series was kind of out of the question. I'm not going to lie. Tough, like you said, tough, really close loss where you're right. We couldn't get any hits. We actually had two home runs in the game, and those were our only two hits in the game. So it was it was one of those days, man, where you just couldn't get the bat on the baseball. And we got really fortunate that we were even in that game, dude. Like extremely fortunate because Arkansas left many runners on in that game. They were getting several hits throughout the game and just didn't kind of capitalize on it. And we kept it close until the end, but just couldn't get it done. Andrew Fisher tried to keep us in it in the end, in the ninth inning with the solo shot. Didn't happen, unfortunately. And then just game two was not great, man. Not great. We kind of talked about how it felt like in the preview, we were talking about how maybe Arkansas has Liam Doyle's number. Like maybe they just have him figured out. And we have even more evidence of that. We didn't really explore his matchup with them when he was at Ole Miss, but they kind of gave him the business at Ole Miss too, man. Like Arkansas just clearly has Liam Doyle figured out, unfortunately. So it was a really bad matchup, Blake. Like we drew a really bad matchup, especially if you look at the rest of the bracket, dude. I mean, Vanderbilt lost in the regional, Texas lost in the regional, Auburn ended up going to lose in the super regional. Like all these teams end up losing, but of course, we were slated to play Arkansas, who's probably destined to win it all at this point. So congrats to Arkansas. Good job. We're not rooting for you. I'll be completely honest. I am not rooting for you. But honestly, if I had to rank SEC teams to win it, they would probably be one of the highest on the list that I would rather see win it than I definitely want them to win it over LSU. I'll be completely honest with you. So, congrats to Arkansas. Good luck in Omaha.
I would probably agree with that. I mean, at this point, I don't want LSU or Arkansas to win it, even though, like you said, they're probably the more favored teams to win it, especially Arkansas. But probably LSU's on the bottom of my list, followed by Arkansas. I don't know. I'm probably going to be full hog rooting for teams like Murray State and all these upset teams.
No doubt. Go Murray State. So, no doubt about it.
But quick jumping in the chat here again. We appreciate you guys hopping in the chat. We got Herb coming back. Herb, we saw you in the in the last live stream. We really appreciated you jumping in there, and now that you're here for the this other this live stream, we appreciate you coming back. Herb says game one feels like we gave it away. Phillips spiked ball, and then Sunday bases loaded, no outs. Fisher double play killed any momentum.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Austin, I think that's probably a good assessment, right? We lost some momentum in game, two on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any thoughts on what Herb's saying there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he made a couple of good points. I think to me, baseball is so different than like so many other sports, but it's still a sport, and momentum it means a lot. And even though the pitchers change daily, the lineup stays the same. And once we lost game one, it just felt demoralizing. Like it was like, okay, this was our opportunity. Just like in the regular season series, right? We take that game one against Arkansas. You have the best pitcher in the country up the next day due to start. And so you feel really good about that. But didn't end up happening that way at all. And Arkansas was the better team, man. There's obviously no excuses. I will say the home plate umpire in game one was just bad. I will say that. It did feel like he was more bad for us than it was for Arkansas. But in general, that dude's zone was just totally off. Just absolutely totally off. And I think the last point I'll make with the Arkansas stuff is like there was a bit of hypocrisy with the Arkansas player like freaking out. And, I don't think, let me just be clear. I don't think there should have been anything done about that. And I think that Arkansas player has every right to celebrate the way he did. That's the thing. But let's stay consistent. Like, if we're ejecting Cannon Peebles for saying, I guess the F word, like, come on, man. Like, that's the problem. Ejecting Cannon Peoples, and that made a difference in the game, by the way. Stone Lawless made a mistake that led to Arkansas getting the first run of the game. It's like,
Yep, on a wild pitch. Yep.
exactly, man. So it's like all of that could, it could have changed the game. I'm not saying it would have changed the series. Arkansas was clearly the better team. They've been the better team this season. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying that it's like, that's the kind of, those are the kind of things that could have changed the momentum a little bit. Having your starting catcher out there who's basically been, the primary catcher all year long. It's just hypocrisy, man, but it's fine. I mean, the NCAA is gonna do what they do, man. We'll talk about them later with this lawsuit, but I think they screw it up. Like, you can't eject a guy in a regional environment, Blake, and then have him sit in the super regionals, dude. It's the effing super. Like, we're trying to get to Omaha here. Like, you can't have him sit out an entire game for like saying some mean words during a sporting event. That's just ridiculous.
Listen, and it's not just the NCAA and the umps and the ejecting camp. It's also, to me, Austin, it is fans out there that, unfortunately, I kind of blame you, Austin. You kind of got me back into
On the Vol Twitter.
The Vol Twitter, and seeing this stuff. But it's true in terms of the hypocrisy, right? Because you see these fans who talk crap about Tennessee and how we play and the passion that we have, and how our guys just really how competitive they are, and obviously they talk and they do their thing, and they like to be the bad boys, the villains of college baseball. That's kind of the MO, right? But you can't, in the one hand, complain about that, and then the very next time we play, your player does the same thing, if not worse, and you're totally fine with it, right? It's just, you can't. It's a double standard, right? You can't criticize Tennessee for that, but then be okay if your players do it. You need to say, you either need to admit it's okay that Tennessee players do it, or you need to say to your own team, hey, that's, I don't like that. You need to stop, acting that way. That's the bottom line. But fans don't do that.
No, they don't. And I agree with you, dude, because there needs to be more passion in baseball. To me, like, passion was missing from baseball for a very long time. And it's why I've become such a big fan of college baseball, is the passion in the sport. We should see more pitchers leaving the mound excited that they just got the final out of an inning. You should want that if you're a baseball fan. There's too many old heads in baseball that want to keep the sport stuck in the mud and not want to take it to the next level, and they want it to be, like a gentleman's game. It's like, dude, it's a sport. We're trying to win championships. We're trying to hang banners. Like, there is a lot on the line. There's legacy on the line, and it's okay to be excited when you make a play. It's okay to do that. And like you said, we're just looking for consistency. Like, if you're cool with your team doing it, be cool with other teams doing it. And guess what? I'm sitting here saying Tennessee does it, and I'm fine with other teams doing it. I just hope more fans, and specifically more fans of baseball, come around to that line of thinking.
Yeah. Absolutely. I 100% agree for sure. Checking back in with the chat here. Again, Herb, he agreed with us what we said a minute ago in terms of go Murray State for sure in Omaha, or he says go Coastal. Absolutely. Pretty much any other team other than an SEC team for sure. We're
Or
rooting for them.
UCLA.
I don't even know if I can root for UCLA just because of the stench coming from their campus.
I'm saying.
Oh, yes,
like,
yeah. No
SEC
UCLA.
teams or UCLA.
Or UCLA,
Those
correct.
teams can lose.
That's correct. Yeah. We're rooting for those kind of underdog teams like Murray State and Coastal. Rhonda jumping in the chat. We appreciate you, Rhonda, always supporting the channel and joining the live streams in the chat, helping the chat kind of move along here. We appreciate you. Rhonda says, good evening, Vol Nation. Best fan base ever. Absolutely. Yes. Couldn't agree more. And Rhonda's also agreeing with our assessment in terms of the double standard that some fans have, as well as the NCAA when it comes to Tennessee versus other teams and how they play with passion in college baseball. So, Austin, any other final thoughts on the Arkansas review and the kind of the tournament review in general?
Nope. Everything else is more high level for the season review, brother.
Let's move right on into it. Let's head into the season review. So, folks, now we're going to transition to talking about the season overall. And, Austin, I want to start with that graphic that I was talking about that I saw recently, where I believe it was going back to 2021. It may have been 2022. And it's funny because it's all like all the national champions are SEC teams. Right, but LSU the year before us, and then the year before that, I believe it was. I'm probably speaking out of turn here, either Texas A&M or some team, and then Mississippi State winning the baseball national championship. All of these teams, looking at this graphic, they had worse overall records than us in terms of win-loss. They had, I believe, worse records in the SEC. In fact, I'm absolutely positive about that. They had worse records in the SEC. And this is talking about the year following their national championship year, right?
Correct.
So comparing that to this year, because this was our year following our national championship. So they had worse SEC overall records, worse SEC records, and then none of them got to the super regionals. In fact, only one other, I think it was the LSU squad the year after their national championship, they did host a regional, but they lost, and they did not make the super regionals. So it gave some perspective for me for this season. We talked about it in the very beginning that it would be absolutely nuts for Tony V to follow up a national championship with an appearance in Omaha. And so to be that close to getting back to Omaha, I do think it is, especially comparing to recent teams. I mean, obviously we achieved well this season, but it just wasn't the season we hoped for. Talk us through what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, I think it speaks to just kind of how baseball operates, that it's hard. Like, it's a hard sport to be consistently good at. And when you win it all, you typically lose a lot of your good players, right? Like, more of them go in the draft. And so you have to reload with talent. And that's really the story of last year's team, right? Last year's team wins the national championship, and then you lose pretty much all of your production. Like, we had to replace a lot of the batting production and all of the pitching production practically with either guys that were on the roster but didn't have as big of roles, or transfers like we saw with Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher and Gavin Keelan and whatnot. So and freshmen, true freshmen as well, and Manny Marin, Jay Abernathy at times throughout the season. So it was a definitely a transition year. It was a rebuilding year, and in a year that we were rebuilding, right, and trying to get the roster back to where it was a couple years ago, we went to the super regional and were one of the top teams in the country, one of the top 16 teams in the country. So I mean, if that's a down year, man, we will take it all day long. Like you just went through that list of teams that just did worse after the national championship year. And like, yeah, we lost to Arkansas. Like, so what? I mean, like I'm saying, they're probably going to win the national championship. Like, if we were seated a little bit differently, maybe we do get back to Omaha. And like you said, it would have been a massive accomplishment. It would have been 3 years in a row. And then coming off, a season where we had to replace all that production, man. So yes, listen, if it's a down year, that's a really great down year to have. And Tony Vitello, man, he's already reloading in the transfer portal. A couple guys committed already from JUCO, an ETSU pitcher that just entered the portal that's visiting us today. He is pretty much a lock to be a Vol, going to add to the pitching rotation. So it's what he does, man. He continues to reload, and I think we can expect to be consistently good going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Also, love to hear ETSU players coming over because apparently they had a good program this year. So hey, you know what? Go ahead and graduate on up from ETSU. Come play for the Vols and Tony V. But yeah, like you said, he's rebuilding. We've got more recruits coming in, more transfers coming in, and if this is our floor, right? I mean, we know what the ceiling is. We know we can win national championships and now we're pretty much cementing our floor as the super regionals every year, right? And that's a pretty good place to be in
No
when it
doubt.
comes to baseball. So, a quick check in on the chat here. VFL 2024 says, "I love how Jay got his first homer, the last at bat of the year. Guy deserved it." Yeah, we'll see. I'd love to see how he's going to develop for sure. But cool to see that for sure. Rhonda says, "I'm satisfied where we stood. We lost a lot of players, filling them with mainly new. Still made history with Fisher getting on base every game." Yeah, that's a good point, Rhonda. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it
Awesome.
is.
That Andrew Fisher got on base every single game.
It is, and yeah, I'll start with Jay. To VFL's point, I mean, that's a guy that we're going to rely on next year, right? Like he was really good in his role this year. He did a lot of base running, and he played in the field throughout the midweek and early on in the season when we were in non-conference play. He needs to get in the weight room once he gets bigger, and I think we're already seeing him like hitting that last homer of the year. I think that
Yeah.
means something, right? Like, because he wasn't getting many opportunities to end the year. So for him to hit a homer in his last opportunity is huge, man. And if he can continue to get bigger, and put on weight, then he's definitely going to be a factor, man, because he is a beast in the field. And to Rhonda's point, yeah, I mean, Andrew Fisher is kind of like in that Dalton Connect area of Vols players for me. Like, one season, but became a Vol legend for it. Liam Doyle also put himself in that category. Um, on base every year. It was in trouble during the Arkansas game, Blake. He, in the ninth inning, in that first game, he hadn't gotten on base yet, and then he hit his solo shot home run to shut up the Arkansas fans. Would have been nice if we could have won that game, obviously, but an absurd stat, dude. To get on base every game in baseball in a sport that is extremely tough to get on base, it's very impressive. I mean, we showed it in our own team. Our outfielders during the postseason, dude, hit like less than 200. It was awful. I mean, it was awful. And I'm not gonna hate on those guys because some of those guys are legends, but it just speaks to how difficult it is to get on
Yeah.
base, right? It's a difficult sport to play and to get hits, and that's the great thing about Fisher, man, is that he's one of the best I've seen with power and with just like watching the ball and being able to see the ball well and to draw walks. He's so good at that, man. He's going to be good on the next level, in my opinion. So excited to see what he does on that next level.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially impressive, like you're talking about, when you take into account the competition that we've been playing all year, right? Because you're talking about this Arkansas series. Well, we were playing against that level of competition and that level of pitching all year, right?
Yep.
So absolutely crazy play from Andrew Fisher for sure. Again, checking in on the chat here, VFL says I really wanted to see more of Grimmer and Newstrom towards the end of the season, especially with Bargo batting problems. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think about that?
I
Because
I
we did have
will
some bad.
I will say, like, you listen, you will not hear a bad word from me about Hunter Ensley. I will not say a bad word for me about Hunter Ensley. He deserved to be in the lineup the whole time. Bargo, however, was like, he's done some good things here. Like, he hit that home run against Evansville last year in the Super Regional to help us get to Omaha. But dude, he was on the struggle bus to end the year. So I definitely could have seen a guy like Chris Newstrom taking his place to hit for him. I mean, Newstrom has shown a lot. Like, and Grimmer, even Grimmer in his limited opportunities, he did most of his damage in the midweek. But it seemed like every time Blake Grimmer got an opportunity, he would make the most of it. So that was kind of interesting. Now it seemed like they were dead set. Like, this is because, like, Tony was asked about the lineup and any changes. Like, he said during the Arkansas series, this is the lineup. This is the lineup we're going with. I'm sure he'd maybe like want to change a couple things here around, like maybe it changes the outcome, who knows. But with that being said, Grimmer and Newstrom are going to be huge parts of next year's team, in my opinion. Like, all those young guys who are likely not going to get drafted are going to be back next year, man. And I think our roster next year, you could see it be a lot deeper, just based on the guys we're bringing back. We're losing less. We're still losing a lot. We're still going to lose a lot of guys. You're going to hear a lot of Vols in the first and second round of the upcoming MLB draft. But to me, the roster's a bit deeper. It's a bit younger. And like I said, Tony V's already bringing in a ton of talent, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how that 2026 roster kind of shapes out.
Absolutely. Rhonda asks here if we've heard anything on Tegan Coons didn't play in the regional or super regional. As far as I know, Austin, I think it was just because Tony V thought we had a better chance with a different pitcher. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think that was it. I mean, it was interesting. I think Tony touched on it after the regional at some point and said how, he kind of regrets not getting certain guys in there. It honestly might have ended up hurting us. I mean, Tony was asked after the Arkansas series about Liam, and he thought Monday played a factor. Him pitching on Monday played a factor, and him looking the way he did on Sunday, which you could definitely see. I mean, it just adds up. It's a long season, right? And he's been the main guy the whole year, and then he doubles up in the regional, pitching on the opening game and then relieving on Monday. And so maybe like with a 5-run lead against Wake Forest, maybe you like to see Tegan Coons come out of the bullpen, or someone else other than Liam Doyle. Who knows? I mean, there's going to be all these questions, right, after a season. Like, what could have changed? Like, what could we have done differently? But man, I'll be honest. I think this team was just inconsistent, right? The bats weren't there all year. We had consistently Andrew Fisher and then Gavin Keelan, although he was hurt at points in the season. Like, those are the two guys that, to me, like, batting wise, were the consistent ones. We knew all the errors in the field, like the infield. It was bad. Like, and again, like, it's the end of the season, so like, I'm not going to do a ton of criticizing of players. We know how it played out. We know the main guy I'm talking about. But it is what it is, man. Like, like, that was a problem throughout the season. We saw it again in the Arkansas series, making some rough plays, or missing some plays that maybe you say you could have made. And then, like, the pitching staff this year, it was a top heavy staff, right? Like, we had Liam Doyle and Marcus Phillips, who were, Marcus Phillips had some shaky points in the season, but I think a lot of Vols fans, especially newer baseball fans, didn't realize, like, not everyone can be Liam Doyle. Like, they saw Liam Doyle on Fridays and they expected that out of Marcus Phillips on Saturdays. It's like, that's not how baseball works. Liam Doyle is a top 5 projected player. That's like a special talent. but we never really had a solidified Sunday starter, right? I mean, Tony said that in the Arkansas press conference, Blake. We never had a solidified Sunday starter. AJ Russell really never became that guy. He was, they tried it at some point during the middle of the season. It just never really worked. I don't know if he was ever 100% this season either. And then the bullpen, like, to me, it's kind of unfortunate, Blake, because I think we could have potentially hosted a super regional had Brandon Arvinson gotten his opportunity sooner, man. He broke out. He absolutely broke out at the end of the season. I don't know what his eligibility looks like, if he's going to be back or what his draft prospect is like, but Brandon Arvinson can absolutely be a huge part of next year's bullpen, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, I was just thinking of that as you were talking about the pitching consistency, because that you talked about that at the beginning of the year, right? That the pitching, especially on Sundays, would be the weak point. So it is unfortunate, especially with our kind of our bullpen depth, that we didn't find Arvinson until the end there. But we're going to catch up on some more chat here. So VFL talking about, how he thinks that Grummer and Newstrom have heart for the game. Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see next year's roster. I'm excited about it. I think we're going to continue success for sure. Rhonda says baseball coaches are
Very
superstitious.
true. Very true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So who knows what new superstitions were created for Tony V too, right? Depending on based on his decisions this past postseason and how that's going to affect the future. But VFL says, do y'all think we're going to have trouble replacing Fisher next year? So Austin, that is, and then VFL also says that Dean Curley's confidence looked rough for sure, which that
There's
is
no
definitely.
question about that.
And I'll
There is
tell you,
no question
Austin,
about that.
I think that's kind of related to this, replacing Fisher question, because our batting seemed to be, as much as we talked about the lack of pitching depth, our batting just also wasn't there this year, right?
No, it wasn't.
Outside of Fisher. So, do you think with having to replace Fisher that, are we going to be in trouble, or do you think we're going to be able to replace him?
Here's what I feel really good about. Okay. This is what I feel really good about. The development at Tennessee, specifically baseball, and Tony Vitello's staff has been incredible, dude. I mean, we took Andrew Fisher and Liam Doyle from Ole Miss, and they were not these players at Ole Miss. They were good. They were coveted players in the transfer portal, but they absolutely took another step forward in their game once they got here. And I expect more of that, man. I expect that with the young guys like Manny Marin, who honestly was really solid all year. Manny Marin does not get enough credit. He wasn't he didn't have the hottest bat. He doesn't have a ton of power yet, but again, another guy who puts on weight and can become a problem next year. And Tony V is very high on Manny Marin, so very interested to see how his career plays out. And then the transfer portal, like, we just need to keep an eye on the transfer portal for baseball, and we'll continue to cover it on the show when we get big guys in. We have another huge recruiting class coming in, and like, we're already targeting a ton of dudes and have had some commitments in the portal, man. So I think I'm not gonna say like we're gonna be back in Omaha. We have to see how this roster shapes out and what it looks like closer to next year. But of course, replacing Andrew Fisher is gonna be tough. Like, we're not gonna get another guy who's getting on base every game of the year, dude. Like, that's just never, that might never happen again in Tennessee history. That's absurd. However, I believe in Tony Vitello's player development, and he'll find a way to reload this roster like he did coming off the national championship season.
Yeah, it's honestly, it kind of makes me think about replacing. I mean, you made the point earlier about Dalton Connect. Kind of makes me think about, Rick Barnes having to try to replace Dalton Connect's production, right? And you end up with Chaz Lanier, call him Dollar General Dalton Connect or something. I don't know, discount Dalton Connect. He was a great offensive player, just not quite the Dalton Connect level, because Dalton Connect was a generational talent, right? Andrew Fisher, like you just said, that record of being on base every single game, that's generational. That's going to be tough to beat. And so we shouldn't be concerned necessarily about, are we going to be able to get another Andrew Fisher? It'd be great if we can, but at least kind of increasing the production or replacing that production, kind of like you're talking about there. So Rhonda says that she hasn't changed her orange watch band since the World Series championship. Absolutely. Hey,
Hey,
we're
keep
gonna
that thing on, Rhonda. Keep that thing
keep
on
it
because
on.
the things have been
Look,
going well since that championship.
absolutely. And look, we're still gonna. I mean, just because we didn't win the national championship this year doesn't mean we didn't beat Arkansas, for instance, to a national championship in general in
That's
baseball.
true.
So
That's true.
that's
Arkansas fans, I'm sorry to say it. For you, even if you win one this year, just know we got
we
there
beat
first forever. It will. You can literally
literally forever.
never change that.
Well, and what's funny, Austin, is it's actually going to be even more funny if they do win it this year, right? Because it took them so long to win it. And like literally, it was the year before, right before they won it. We still beat them to it, right? So you got to love it. Sorry to any Hog fans. Sorry, not sorry, actually.
Well, y'all are fine.
Yeah.
Y'all are in Omaha. Y'all are having a good season. So
Yeah, they'll be fun. VFL says, I hope Jay back grows through the postseason too. Could be a dangerous drag hit kind of guy. Absolutely. And then VFL says, plus you got to include NIL money in this conversation, right? Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too, is, Austin and I have talked on this podcast before about, man, that might be the one drawback of being the quintessential everything school right now is we got
yeah.
to find money for these guys, right? We got to spread this money out.
It's interesting you bring that up, VFL, because we are going to talk about the latest on this
Yep.
NCAA lawsuit regarding NIL and potential cap and like what it all means. And we're trying to figure that out. There's a lot of changes going on in college sports right now. NIL is interesting, man. It's very interesting. It it's hard to know. It's really tough to know to me is like one of our sports dragging another sport down at the moment, because to me, I'm not convinced that's the case. Are we positive, right, that baseball and basketball, which have been recruiting very well, like Rick Barnes is coming off potentially his best postseason to date, Blake, bringing in massive recruits and killing it in the portal as always. And then Tony Vitello has been, I mean, it's hard to find baseball recruiting rankings, but go look into it, folks. He's like the next class is up there too. Like we're talking about top 5 classes every single season. And then you have football, which a lot of people are, some people are more concerned about football than other sports. To me, I would rather be good at everything. But are we convinced that baseball recruiting and basketball recruiting are hurting football's NIL? I'm not necessarily convinced of that. I'm really not. But because I think Tony V and Rick Barnes are able to spend less and get more. Like they get
Yeah.
more out of their roster because people want to play for them. That's the difference. I think people want to play for Rick Barnes. Chaz Lanier took less money. He got offered more money at Kentucky to come to Tennessee because he wanted to play for Rick Barnes. Same thing with Tony Vitello. He said before, don't come here looking for a handout. We're not giving handouts. We're not giving out charity. Like, there's several meanings to that, but I think one of the meanings is that we probably don't spend the most NIL in baseball. Again, it's kind of harder to find those baseball figures than it is football and basketball figures. But I just think Tony V is a great recruiter, man. I really do.
Yeah.
It's not that, I mean, obviously NIL is a part of all of these conversations, right, Blake? It's definitely part of the conversation. But in my opinion, Rick Barnes and Tony Vitello have been able to do more with less money because players want to play for them.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head for sure, and that's why we got to keep Tony V around. That actually gets to Rhonda's point. She says now they want our coach after their coach retires. Talking about Arkansas, I think. Look, I don't think Tony V's going anywhere, man.
I
He's
don't
literally
either.
king of the. He feels like he's on top of the world here in Knoxville, and so who can blame him? Why would you want to leave? When you're making as much money as he is and having as good of a time as he is and being embraced by a fan base like he is, I mean, there's no reason for him to leave. I'm not worried about that. And then VFL is talking about, so VFL, we're going to talk about the NIL stuff with the NCAA lawsuit. So Austin will segue to that here in a minute. and kind of get to VFL's question here on the new rule. And then Rhonda says, "In Danny White, I trust." Yeah, we got to put our trust in him so far because he's been doing a great job. Austin, before we're kind of transition a little bit to this NIL conversation now in the NCAA. So before we transition to that, do you have any final thoughts overall on this baseball season?
Yeah, a couple more final thoughts. Obviously, shout out Tony V, what he's done here. 5 straight super regional appearances, most in college baseball at the moment, as far as active streaks are concerned. Incredible what he's done. I'll continue to praise him, but a couple guys in particular we got to talk about, I think, before we transition. One, what Liam Doyle here in a 1 year sample, we haven't talked about him enough in on this show, was phenomenal. I believe he solidified himself as the best pitcher in the Tony Vitello era, which is saying a lot, right? He has put out a ton of talent right now as far as pitchers are concerned. So that's saying a ton. He was phenomenal, man. Absolutely electric. Some MLB team is going to get a psycho, and he's going to do great things at the next level. And two, we got to talk about the great Hunter Ensley. Probably played his last game as a Tennessee Vol. Again, I'm not going to talk about the struggles because of what he did here, right? Like what he did here was bring a national championship to a program that was historically irrelevant. Like we have some good years with Todd Helton and Chris Burke. They did some great things here, whatever. But overall, the Tennessee baseball program was forgotten. And obviously, Tony V is a big part of that. But Hunter Ensley, the plays he made last year in Omaha, to me is probably the clutchest player in Tennessee baseball history, dude. Just catch after catch. I mean, he made another catch like this, like he did in Omaha this year, Blake, running to the wall, like literally doesn't care about his own body. He's going to put it all on the line. And then, of course, the slide. Like, the slide's incredible because it's just an incredible play. But people for like almost like leave out the part that was the deciding run, Blake. Like that, and now maybe we pitch differently. Maybe Combs handles the situation differently. If we don't have the run lead we have, right? Because we kind of just we're starting to give up runs in that last ninth
Yes.
inning. So maybe the score looks differently. But at the end of the day, dude, we won that last game 6-5. That slide to get that extra run was the deciding run in whether Tennessee has a national championship or not. So for all the people that are upset about the Arkansas series, listen, I get it, but let's not disparage the great Hunter Ensley, man. What he did here is amazing. Clutchest player in Tennessee baseball history. Forever a Tennessee legend.
We talked we talked before about that play in particular. Actually, Austin, it may not even have been on the podcast. It might have been when it happened when we were watching the game last year, and that play happened, and we're like, man, that's right up there in Vol sports plays history in
Yes.
general. All of Vol sports plays, right up there with the Dobnell boot, with Jawan Jennings catching the Hail Mary, with Peerless Price in the '98 championship. That touch. I mean, maybe even stumble and fumble, right? Like that. It's up there in great Vol sports plays history, right? So absolutely can't disparage the great Hunter Ensley, and of course Liam Doyle and Hunter, or I'm sorry, Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher, like we've been talking about. Great play from them. So overall, I think to kind of put a bow on this year, it was not what we wanted. It was not what we hoped for. But at the end of the day, we can't really complain, man, because that was a great season to follow up a national championship year when, like we've been talking about, we've been reloading. So
No doubt about it, man.
folks, thank you all for joining us for the season review of baseball. We're now going to transition to some football stuff. Before we do that, again, folks, if you're just now joining us or if you haven't already, please like the video. We'd really appreciate it. Give us hop in the chat if you haven't already. We appreciate VFL and Rhonda jumping in there in the chat. But drop us a note in the chat. Let us know what you think. We'd love to continue the conversation with you guys. And again, subscribe if you haven't already. We'd really appreciate it. Austin, let's transition now into general sports stuff, specifically the NCAA lawsuit, NIL, and again, it affects all sports. Although, of course, we primarily think about football when we're talking about this. But we're going to talk about this stuff that kind of VFL was asking about in terms of the salary cap and some other stuff. Austin, give us an update first on kind of where we stand with the lawsuit and kind of what the current situation is.
So I mean, it says it's approved. I guess that means like it's all these things are going to be implemented this next season. And kind of like VFL was saying, it sounds like it's 20.5 million of their revenues are going to go like to the school's revenue, right? The school's revenue are going to go to the players. They're still calling them student athletes, which is hilarious. They are semi pro athletes. They are not student athletes. But that's apparently across all sports. Now, my biggest concern, which I'll be honest, I'm trying to find the answer to this question as we speak. I will become more prepared next time. But as we speak, I'm trying to find the question of, will this mean that this is the only money the players are getting? Meaning, like, this is NIL, or is this just like the cherry on top of NIL? Because I believe it's the cherry. From what I've understand, from what I've read, it seems like it's the cherry on top of NIL, which means that there's no salary cap, right? Everything's going to stay the same. Everything's going to be the exact same. Like, there's still going to be collectives paying players, but it just means now that schools are going to pay players as well. But there's just a cap on how much the school itself can pay players. Now, if this is kind of going towards regulation of NIL, then okay, we're headed in the right direction, right? Then we're headed in the right direction, because to me, if whoever's going to regulate it, if it's going to be the NCAA, which seems like they can do nothing, right? They seem powerless in this situation, or if it's the federal government or whoever, there needs to be regulation on these NIL contracts, because this was not, obviously, we've said this a million times, but it needs to be said once again. How NIL is been implemented and has been used was not the intent of NIL whatsoever, right? Like, players are basically being directly paid by collectives that are formed by schools, and they're phony deals, right? Like, Nico apparently had to sign some autographs or whatever for his $2 million. Like, no one's paying $2 million for a player to sign autographs. Like, it's not for that. It's the 2 million is so, will you come play here? That's what the 2 million's for. That's what it's kind of how it's been used this entire time, Blake. And so to me, if it's just the cherry on top of all this, it's pointless, right? Like, this lawsuit to me is just pointless. It just means the NCAA has to pay a bunch of former players mostly, and schools will now play their current players. But if this all leads to more regulation of NIL, then hey, I think we're headed in the right direction. It's hard to know, man, because these things take forever, right? We're dealing with the government, we're dealing with the NCAA. It's taking forever. So it's just hard to know how it all works and how it's all going to play out. But I'll just end with this. I think it's still so clear that we need leadership in college football. We need some kind of college football commissioner of some kind to make decisions that are best for the sport. And I say college football, but it's all sports, right? We need somebody who is going to make the right decision for college athletics, because the NCAA has done the opposite of that for so many years, right? And it can't be just let's give the players everything they want either, because that's not what's good for the players. And, I won't get into the weeds of that, but that's not always what's best for the players. And it's definitely not what's best for the sport. Somebody needs to come out and do what's best for the sport and sports overall.
Absolutely. I mean, that's always been our position, is that, God, we've got to save college sports, man, especially college football. We got to save it. I'm going to catch up on chat real quick here in just a second, Austin, but I do want to give you an update. According to my sources, and now I can't reveal my sources. However, I did, as you were talking, I did pull up my research on the matter. And
I have a feeling I know who your source is.
Yeah,
Chat GBT. That's the source. Also, Herb is bringing good information in the chat as well. So,
okay, what's Herb saying?
Herb is basically saying from what he understands, the collective payments have to be approved by the NCAA, um, and whatever their board deems market value. So all this seems like it's a mess waiting to happen. Like if every NIL collective payment has to go through the NCAA, doesn't it just feel like we're just going to go back to under the table like proceedings, right?
Right.
Because like yeah, they're going to deem a market value, and that's like okay, the market value for a quarterback is let's say $2 million. Well, if Oregon really wants a quarterback over Ohio State, then it's just going to go back to under the table. Okay, we can only pay you on the books 2 million, but you're going to get this extra 3 million on the side, man. It's just I don't know. It's all such a mess to me.
Yeah, Herbs, you stole a little bit of my thunder here. Again, I had sources. Okay, we can't reveal what those sources are, even though we just revealed what the sources are. But yes, exactly like Herb's saying. So essentially, the 20.5 million cap is institutional revenue sharing only, right? So that's only what the university has in terms of a budget towards their players, but outside NIL deals, so collectives, sponsors, social media, etc. There's no cap, right? So, you know the school has the 20.5 million, but then the ceiling is unlimited because players can still get these NIL endorsements from those third party sources like the collectives. However, like Herb's saying, those new deals through third parties do have to go through essentially a clearinghouse. So I guess it's called NIL Go, and it's going to be a review for again, like y'all are talking about, the fair market value. So in other words, if there's a deal that's over $600 and it goes through that clearinghouse and it's kind of deemed that it's essentially a disguised salary, right? So in other words, there's no quote unquote real services rendered. So kind of talking about the Nico situation, right, where he was getting the 2 million and it was show up for 2 autograph signings a year.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's obviously disguised salary, right?
Exactly.
And so under the settlement, those allegedly would be violations and could either be voided or could trigger penalties, that that could hurt the school. So theoretically there's going to be a little bit more regulation on that, but again, to your point, there's going to be they're going to find some way to get through it one way or another, whether it's backdoor deals or hey, it's like, okay, we've got to have real services rendered. Okay, so now instead of 2 autograph signings, you're going to get an additional NIL deal from the collective for how much ever money, $10,000, and it's oh, now you got to show up to 10 autograph signings. I don't know, it's just so new that who knows how it's going to play out, but
It's
people are going to
also
find a way around.
it also seems like a disaster. Like I know the NCAA is just trying to find a way like to stay in business. Like that's their main goal at this point. So they want to find a
Yeah,
way to create jobs, and I guess their way of creating jobs is like having this clearinghouse now. Like they can actually do something because it seems like they don't do anything for 365 days out of the year. But now they have this clearinghouse. I'm very curious to see how quick this clearinghouse like you have to deal with every sport across every university in America. That seems like a disaster waiting to happen. Um, it's like you said, man, it's just so much. I will say though, if they can find a way to stop the backdoor deals and to have a legitimate process for this clearing, like this clearinghouse or whatever, where they say, okay, clearly 2 million's not worth autograph signing, like that's not fair market value for autograph signings, then that's fair. It's also, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but it's pretty frustrating how they couldn't come up with the idea of the clearinghouse in 2018. Like you couldn't think of
yeah,
like nobody sat down in a room and said, well, maybe we should like filter out the BS NIL deals here, and there should actually be a filtration process, like because like it could have. I mean, honestly, it could have saved the sport in a lot of ways, dude. But yeah, it's just it's yeah. I don't know, man. I think from what I'm hearing, it's positive news. Like from what I'm hearing, this is mostly positive news, but I'm still skeptical, man.
Yeah, it's hard not to be skeptical when they've flubbed it so bad for so long. Here's a few other interesting points, Austin. So, according to my very deep research on the matter, um, the the situation has caused some schools to pool their collectives into the athletic department. So essentially, they're merging the booster clubs and the collectives, or bringing them inside the athletics department. Apparently, Texas Tech has done this. They've combined the booster club and the collectives. So essentially, they can coordinate revenue sharing, and so the revenue sharing from the school, so the 20.5 million, as well as the outside NIL budget. In other words, the school, which again is kind of, they're already kind of getting around it, right? Because it's supposed to be 20.5 million is the cap from the school. But then when you're coordinating with your quote unquote third party collective to essentially coordinate under one budget, then it kind of nullifies the point, right?
Ugh.
At least that's what it seems like to me. And then also, this does seem like positive news, though. To your point, apparently the clearinghouse has already told ACC officials that about 70% of the current booster funded deals would have been denied under the new fair market value test. So
70%,
is that
70%,
shocking?
dude.
That's not shocking at all.
I would like a retrospective on how many deals since NIL's implementation that would be denied. Probably
Right.
80% of like, I just, who knows, dude. It could have literally changed college football history if they just think, you know what, maybe we should have a clearinghouse for, you know, like collectives just straight up paying play. Like maybe we should actually figure this out instead of just like saying, here you go, here's NIL, please let us keep our jobs, which is basically what the NCAA did. VFL made a really good point about Heupel, and it seems like he's kind of getting tired of what he has to do. I think that's all college coaches right now, dude. And I think Tennessee has to make the move for a GM. Like, I don't know if that's happening internally and we're not seeing it, but with all of that, like back and forth that you just laid out, Blake, like all the back and forth that has to happen between the school and the boosters and the collective and like all, like, the coach cannot balance this. Like he cannot balance the books. Like we need a GM who's like financially savvy, who can balance the books, who can run the cap, who can manage the roster, right? And of course, that person works like hand in hand, like with a player department, like a scouting department, and Heupel to figure out what players do we want and what players do we need. But they need to have a designated GM in this role because Heupel has to focus on coaching. Like they like all this crap that and recruiting has always been a thing, right? Like college coaches have always worked to basically 365, but to at this point it's completely not manageable. Like that is why Nick Saban's not coaching anymore, by the way. Nick Saban's in perfect health and he would he's still the greatest coach ever. I know that's blasphemy to say here on Vol Talk, but we sadly know it's true. Like he didn't want to deal with this crap, Blake, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to deal with this crap if I'm a college coach.
Yeah, you've already got an incredibly stressful job, even in terms of coaching, right? Like college football coaches, like you're talking about, almost have even more to deal with than NFL coaches. Now, I think obviously the pressure is higher on NFL coaches, but yeah, man, what do you want? It's like any working person, really, right? It's like you're getting paid one thing to do a certain job, and then all of a sudden they're telling you got to do like double what you're already doing for the same money. It's like, nah, I think I'll pass,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
But
dude.
it's
Exactly.
it's a crazy situation for sure. Folks, appreciate everyone in the chat here, kind of keeping the chat alive between Rhonda, VFL, and Herb. Herb, again, you stole my thunder. You beat me to it in terms of the situation on the NIL, but you hit the nail on the head, man. That fair market value assessment, this clearinghouse seems to be kind of where we're headed, and so we'll see how that plays out here. Let's see here. Herb says payment could go to family and NCAA. Don't have subpoena power, so under the table payments or agreements, they can't do anything. Yeah, unfortunately, I think Austin and I both agree that that
I
might
mean,
still
come on,
happen,
man.
right? Those under the table agreements. And then Herb says Texas Tech is scrambling, paying that for a softball pitcher. Probably. No way that's market value. Yeah, who knows what Texas Tech is doing over there, man? Paying it to a softball pitcher, who knows? Who knows? Austin, any other final thoughts on the NCAA lawsuit situation and NIL?
I don't know, man. Like, am I supposed to be happy about this news? Am I supposed to be like excited, or should I be bummed? Like, I have no idea. I just think that Tennessee needs to get a GM and get a GM quick and start running it like the NFL model, man. It's for some reason it's way more complicated than an NFL model because like it took them, 7 years into NIL to actually like figure out, oh, well, maybe we can't just have unregulated NIL. But hey, it's at least things seem to be moving, and it seems to be moving in the right direction. Maybe, I mean, we just have to see how all these things play out, man. Like that's the thing, like because who knows how it's actually going to look, and how much stuff is going to change. But I will say, last thing I'll say on it, Blake, is I think it will be beneficial for the sport as a whole, including the players, the fans, the teams, if players stop prioritizing short-term money, and prioritize long-term success. That's how I'll put it. Because listen, players will be more happy with where they want to be. And if you're prioritizing money, you're not prioritizing where you want to be and what best fits you. And that's happened a lot, man. That's why we see the transfer portal disaster that we see. So when players start to prioritize their long-term success, then we'll see the portal start to get better, and we'll see less players in the portal, and we'll see more player development instead of, freshmen coming in expecting to start right away, or transfers coming in expecting to start immediately and get playing time immediately, and players actually being okay with being developed. Like, it will be better for us as fans because I've said this countless times, Blake. How are you expected to get connected to a guy or a recruit that comes in who might not be here in a year or might not be here in 6 months? I mean, we've seen that time and time again. Players committing somewhere and bouncing in the spring portal. So you can't get connected to them as a fan. And we're all sick of this crap. We're all sick of this as fans, the transfer portal and whatnot. It's best for the team, obviously, because you get to develop your guys and you not have to worry about, recruiting the guys on the roster. And then it's best for the player because, again, long-term success. We're talking about becoming a better player at the program that you're meant to be at, that you want to be at, because you actually sit there and develop, and potentially becoming a good enough player to go to the NFL, which many guys in this transfer portal era have ruined their chances at the NIL or at the NFL because they keep transferring, they're not developing, and they never become the players they're supposed to be. So I think it's best for the sport, and hopefully that's how players and their families start to think.
I certainly hope so. Obviously, I 100% agree with you. We've talked about this several times, especially with the Nico situation, a couple months ago. That was, or gosh, it feels like a couple months. I guess maybe it was only a month ago. It's all running together at this point. But
Yeah.
we've talked about that. It's just, these players are just seeing the dollar signs in front of them, and it's sometimes maybe at the expense of their future. And they need someone around them, and maybe it needs to be just more regulations to help guide them in the right direction, to where they're going to be better for their long-term success. Absolutely. So Rhonda says that, guys, you'll have a good night. Go Vols. We'll see you next time. We'll see you, Rhonda. Thanks for joining this live stream as always. But folks, for those of you who are still sticking around, we appreciate you listening to the live stream tonight. We've got one more fun topic for you tonight. Austin kind of saved the best for last,
I
and
guess.
maybe it's kind of speculative. I don't know, but we are going to talk about a possible update to the quarterback battle situation. So, speaking of the Nico situation, we had some episodes again a month ago, whenever it was, about, hey, now we're looking at Aguilar or Merklinger. Who's going to win this QB battle? Who's going to be our starting quarterback come the start of football season? And Austin, you were telling me that a reporter who is fairly reputable came out and predicted, it's not, as far as we know, it's not an official report. It's just a prediction that Aguilar might get the starting job.
Definitely a prediction. Brent Hubbs, longtime Tennessee reporter, local guy, went on Andy Staples' podcast. Andy Staples works for On Three, and he predicted that Joey Aguilar will take the first snap for the Vols. And he gave football reasons. He said experience. He said he thinks the I think he was trying to say he thinks the ceiling of the offense will be higher with Aguilar because he brings that gunslinger mentality. And all those things I understand. However, he's also more connected to the program than we are, right? He's an insider and he gets practice access and he hears things. So he probably has a little information that Joey Aguilar may be coming in and taking the starting job. I'm surprised by that, Blake. As you know, I predicted that Jake Merklinger will win the job because it just made sense to me, right? He's been here since December 2023. He is the higher rated prospect. He seems like he has the higher ceiling. Really, the only thing Aguilar does have on Merklinger is that starting experience at Appalachia State. So I will be quite surprised if Aguilar ends up winning the job because it's a tough assignment, man. Like we talked about that. It's a tough assignment because he got here less than a month ago. We're talking about how he has apparently he graduated from App State, by the way, while he was enrolled at UCLA. Don't ask me how that worked. Don't know. Don't care. Like that is just ridiculous to me. How are you finishing your App State classes while you're enrolled at UCLA? Uh, basically, like traditional college transfer rules don't apply to athletes. Apparently, they just do not apply. But my point still stands, man. He's only been here for less than a month. He has to learn
Yep.
an entirely new offense. After being at UCLA during the springtime, right, and learning their offense as the starter. So you have to come in and learn a completely reset, learn a new offense, which it's a pretty QB friendly offense. So he should be able to pick up on it quickly. But it's still an extremely tough assignment, man, to be able to come into a new team and win the job over a guy who has, again, in my opinion, higher upside and more experience in Heupel's offense. Just doesn't have that starting experience.
Well, and we actually talked about that as a reason that we thought Merklinger would win the job is because of Aguilar and the limited amount of time that he would have to learn the offense, right? Because when we first started talking about Aguilar coming to the Vols after Nico leaves, and then we get Aguilar and essentially a de facto trade, right? I talked about how I think it was the UCLA coach brought up the fact that, hey, look, this has happened, but these guys still got to finish out their classes. And UCLA's classes didn't end until later than UT's did. And so Aguilar's, like you're talking about, just recently got to campus. And so we're like, man, if he gets here at, let's say, the start of June and has literally that's 2 months,
Two and a half months.
2.5 months to learn this offense, it's like it seems like or seemed like Merklinger would be the clear cut kind of favorite to win the job again because like you're talking about the higher upside and then just the length of time that he has in Heupel's system. Now, again, caveat is this reporting from quote unquote reporting from Brent Hubbs was a prediction, right? But like you said, he's got the insider information. So I mean, one would assume that he is using his insider information to make that prediction. But I'm like you, man. I'm still surprised that that's the case.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I think there's definitely. I mean, it would be hard because again, Brent Hubbs is a Vol reporter, right? He's a Vol insider, so it would be pretty tough for me to believe that there's no information there. Like he has zero information on the practice and how things are going. But at the end of the day, we won't know. It was a prediction. We won't know until really, I think until week 1. I think that's going to be the move. Like we won't. Heupel will probably announce it the week of the Syracuse game. College coaches are very annoying with like releasing lineups. It's like showmanship, but it's also like to the point of just like being actually kind of annoying with how they won't like talk about injuries and things like that. They're just not required to do it like the NFL requires you to do it. So it is going to be interesting. I mean, we're going to keep a pulse on it, man. It's the off season. We got to come up with things to talk about. And like again, this was kind of big news. Again, we don't, I mean, it's not like an announcement, but a big time fall reporter giving his prediction. I think that has some validity to it, man, and it probably means something. And to me, I'm obviously biggest Joey Aguilar fan on the planet right now. Like he's our
Right.
quarterback, dude. We got
That's
to be
right.
a fan of him. I just am. I'm still surprised by it, though, man. I'm still surprised by it.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, but like you said, we're going to support them, and that was the thing about. I mean, when we talked about the Nico situation, is man, we will support you until death, basically, until you turn your back on us, right? So Aguilar, he's here.
He's our
So you know
guy.
what? If he's my guy, if he's going to be the starter, then so be it. At the end of the day, obviously, it's not necessarily that we want Merklinger to. We just think Merklinger is we kind of thought that Merklinger would give us the better chance to
Agreed.
win games. But at the end of the day, whoever gives us the better chance. And obviously, Heupel is going to have a better assessment of that than me and you sitting in this chair, right?
Yeah.
Talking to the internet. So,
Well, I mean, he also got the Joe Milton Hendon Hooker evaluation wrong, but just put that to the side. It's fine. It's fine. We all get it wrong occasionally, but they missed pretty
that's
big
true.
on that one in 2021. But
In his defense, I think Milton just, for whatever reason,
wowed
could
in
not
practice.
translate
Yeah,
his.
he
Yeah,
wowed in
just
practice, man, and he's looked good in the
yeah.
NFL. So Milton definitely has the wow factor, but um, maybe Aguilar can become that next Andrew Fisher Dog Connect one and done superstar. I definitely wouldn't put my money on that, but maybe. Herb made a really good point in the chat because we were talking about how college coaches are annoying with depth charts and injuries. He talked about the or on depth charts, the quote or. They do that crap all the time. Right tackle, this player or this player, so we just don't know. It's like that's not gonna give you an advantage, in my opinion. It's just like annoying fans and like people who want to know who's gonna be playing. But yeah, that is very annoying.
I think absolutely. Come week one, to your point, Austin, we're probably going to see, like Herb saying, we're going to see that infamous or
Oh
right in
yeah.
terms of quarterback. It's going to be
Yeah, you
Joey
might be right.
Aguilar
You
or
might
Jake
be right.
Merklinger, right? I
Or
mean,
George McIntyre, or
or yeah, they might hit us with the infamous double or because
or
they've been
Faison,
known
or
to,
we start putting guys who
yeah.
aren't even here on campus yet.
Yeah, who knows? Herb says, do they do a QB swap each series in first game? Yeah, man, we might see something like that. My gut tells me I don't want to see that because I don't think that has historically
I
been
agree.
effective, or at least that's indicative of, hey, no guy has clearly set himself apart. And so that's worrying. So I hope we don't see that, but who knows? We could see that.
It's
And Herb says, go ahead, Austin.
Oh yeah, he was just saying just provide each other series and get something on video, which is, I mean, we need Merklinger video, right? Like we need Merklinger tape.
Yeah.
There is no Merklinger tape. There's literally none of it out there. So I don't hate the idea. The only thing is, it's tough when we're opening with Syracuse, right? Because Syracuse is
Right.
coming off a really good season, right?
Eric?
They're good.
Yes.
They're a legitimate contender in the ACC. There's no doubt about that. It's not a like a a pushover team that we can just blow by and we can test out our roster. If we were starting with like Chattanooga like we were last year, Blake, then I would absolutely support the series by series thing because like just to see, right? We're just testing it out, testing the waters. But just generally speaking, dude, I like when they make a definitive decision and say, okay, this is the guy. But it's tough because, like, to Herb's point, it's like you don't even have tape on Merklinger. Like, you really don't know what he is in the game. You've seen him in practice, but again, like I'll keep bringing up, like you kind of missed what Hendon, like you saw Hendon in practice and you decided that wasn't good enough to start, and then Hendon became one of the best QBs to ever play here. So it's like one of those things that's like you can't always trust the practice evaluation. Sometimes you have to get the guy in the system, in the game, see if he's a gamer. Like that's the thing. Like being a gamer is a real thing. And I'm not saying Merklinger is that. I'm just saying we don't know if he is or not. We kind of know what Aguilar is going to bring, right? We know he's going to bring that volatility. He's going to make big plays, which is I think has been missing in Heupel's offense since Hendon has left. So I think that's going to be an important part of it. But expect more interceptions too. Like Heupel has tended to have QBs not throw a lot of picks. I would expect that to kind of change with Aguilar this next season. Could be wrong. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
We will see indeed. It'll definitely be a pendulum shift from Nico and not being decisive and not wanting to throw the ball to Aguilar slinging it and then
a gunslinger, but who has a terrible arm. So he has the Brett Favre mentality, but 2015 Peyton Manning's noodle arm. So it's going to be interesting to see how that looks in Heupel's offense.
But we're ride or die, baby.
Oh yeah, we are right. He's our guy. 7-5 or 10-2. He's our guy, no matter what.
Whoever starts, we wish him success. Folks, we have covered a lot tonight. We have gone from baseball and a review of the tournament, the baseball tournament, and our performance against Arkansas to the to the baseball season review. And then we transitioned into a little bit of talk about NIL, the NCAA lawsuit, and then finally we're ending on this QB battle update and kind of this prediction from Brent Hubbs that Aguilar is in fact going to be the starter. So Austin, we covered a lot. We have had episodes where we covered all three major sports, but this episode came pretty close. Do you have any other final thoughts on anything we've talked about tonight?
No, a lot of news, like a lot of things that kind of came out. Yeah, I mean, final thoughts are we'll keep a pulse on all this, right? During Vol Talk, the schedule might be a little wonky. Blake's been busy here recently, and so we'll have a kind of a wonky schedule going forward. But hopefully during football season, definitely plan on during football season, we plan to have a set schedule. And we haven't completely hashed that out yet, but we'll have just kind of like we did last football. If you were here for last football season, you're an OG, ride or die, and we appreciate that. But last football season, what we did, the model was previews and reviews for every game. And during the offseason, Blake, we don't really know what we're going to talk about yet. We're just going to be following the news and maybe doing some top 5, top 10 videos. Maybe I don't want to just teasing that. Maybe that's down the line, but we'll be doing stuff like that. Wait, can't hear me? Oh, more. Blake's having mic issues. That's fine. He needs a mic stand. He needs to get a mic stand. But yeah. And so, hopefully y'all stick with us and stick with us to football season for our reviews and previews. And if you want us to talk about anything during the off season, let us know. Let us know if you have any ideas. If you want to give us some ideas for topics of conversation or old school things to talk about. VFL asked for predictions for the College World Series. I don't have an official prediction. I will say that I hope it's any other team than the SEC teams in UCLA. That's kind of my prediction. But if I had an honest prediction, I think Arkansas will win it. Arkansas has been really good, man. They've been the best team this season, I think.
Yeah, sorry about that. Technical difficulties on the mic here. Little bit of physical difficulties as well. Apparently, I can't control my hands. I keep knocking over on my mic. But yes, I think our unofficial official prediction was unfortunately Arkansas looks like they're kind of poised to go on to win the College World Series. Even though as much as we don't want that, we want pretty much any other team other than Arkansas, LSU, and UCLA. But yeah, Austin, you were talking about kind of our schedule moving forward. As you were saying, please, folks, if y'all have any input, let us know what you'd like the off-season content to look like. Because again, we're blessed with year-round success, but there's going to be this about 2-month lull where it's going to, there's nothing really going on. So let us know what kind of content y'all would like to see. We appreciate everyone joining in the chat tonight. Herb, VFL, Rhonda, everyone. VFL, first time we've seen you in the live chat. We appreciate you joining. Appreciate the input. I really enjoyed the conversation tonight. As Austin said, we're still going to release weekly episodes for you guys. So probably in the meantime, look for that around Monday or Tuesday every week. is kind of what we're going to be looking at during the off season. Like Austin said, during college and during the football season, it'll probably shift a little bit. I think we're probably going to aim for Sundays to release those episode or do those episodes, but we are still going to continue to drop weekly content for you guys. And Herb said, hey, we appreciate that. Herb, he says, can't wait to football coverage. I enjoyed the last couple weeks. Hey, we appreciate it, man. We're excited about football season as well. Obviously, everyone loves football, including us. So we're super excited about covering football season for you guys. But with that being said, Austin, we are going to, again, we're going to come up with something for the off season. So we're still going to catch you all after this week. We'll catch you all next week, regardless of what we're going to be talking about. And until then, as always, baby, go frickin' Vols.